Greetings, children. Welcome back to Geometry and PreAlgebra. So, today we're talking about line segments. So let's talk about what a line segment is. A line segment, we said, is just part or a segment of a line. So, when we talked about lines a few days ago, we said that lines are straight. So that would mean that a line segment is also straight. Yesterday we talked about curves, and we said that curves can also be straight, but lines have to be straight. So curves can be, lines must be. So if we have a line, it goes on forever in both directions. A line segment is when we just have part of that line. So it stops. The places where it stops are called the endpoints. To write a line segment in symbols, we would write AB with a little line segment over it. You can also name it BA. So you name it by its endpoints. If there's another point on this line, you can't name it with C unless it stops at C. So if you said AC, that would mean just this part. So just that part of the line. AB or BA is the entire segment there. Now, the thing about line segments as opposed to lines is line segments can be measured. A line can't be measured. If somebody asks you how long a line is, then you'd have to tell them that it's infinite. It goes on forever. But a line segment, you can use a ruler to measure. So part of your exercises tonight will be using a ruler in both centimeters and inches and millimeters. So you'll be using different things to measure different line segments. Now, if you want to draw a line segment, you don't have to have a ruler. Drawing a line segment, you just need something straight, and as your book calls it, a straight edge. So you can use the edge of a book. You could use a pencil, like another pencil that you use beside your other pencil that's straight. Anything that has a straight edge on it can be used to draw a line segment. Now, it also introduces the symbol for congruent. So if two line segments are the same length, then they're said to be congruent. So let's say we had this line, AB, line segment rather, and then right in the middle we had C. And since it's exactly in the middle, this one, let's say, is 3 inches here, and this one's also 3 inches, then line segment AC and line segment CB are congruent. The symbol for congruent is equals with little bacon on top. So it's an equal sign with a little squiggle on top. Looks like bacon or maybe toothpaste on top of toothbrush. So that's the symbol for congruent. Congruent line segments have the same length. So that's important to remember, especially once you get into actual geometry class. So when we talked about parallel lines a few lessons ago, we also talked about that parallel lines have to be in the same plane. Well, we can have parallel line segments as well, and they have to be in the same plane, but this also introduces the concept of skew lines. So imagine we said parallel lines have to be in the same plane, and I mentioned skew lines the other day. Skew lines are when we have two lines that are not in the same plane that do not intersect. We can have two lines that are not in the same plane intersect. They would form their own plane. So they would always be in their own plane. But let's say we had a line here that we drew on the board, and then let's say I drew a line on the floor. So you can't see it because the floor is down there. But I drew a line on the floor. Those two lines would never intersect. They're in completely different planes, and the place where the planes intersect isn't where the lines go. So those two lines would be considered skew lines. We have some other symbols that we're going to use. Skew doesn't have a symbol itself, but we're going to learn a few other symbols and a few other key terms here. So the next one is perpendicular. Perpendicular lines are lines that intersect to form right angles. So a right angle, the symbol is this little box that you'll see in one of the angles. So that would mean that these are right angles because one of them is a right angle, all four of them have to be. So let's say this is line A, B, and this is line J, E. We could say line AB is perpendicular to line JE. Now the symbol for perpendicular looks like a capital T that we turned upside down. So that's the symbol for perpendicular. It's right here. It's also in your books. We can have segments also that are perpendicular, not just lines. And your book makes an important point here. It says, never assume that two lines are perpendicular in a drawing unless you're told so. Never assume that they're parallel unless you're told so. Okay, so just by looking, you can't really tell in a drawing unless in the drawing it tells you this line's perpendicular, or it has a little symbol like this little box in the corner. That tells you that the lines are perpendicular. So, that's it for our lesson today. We've talked about different types of line segments: parallel, perpendicular, skew, and we also talked about the symbols and the way to properly write them, and how to draw a line segment. So, thanks for watching. Have a great day.